Welcome to the teacher feature of the Nancy Peters Show on Southbridge Street Live. Each week, I'm interviewing a teacher from the Crossroads area. Join me on Tuesday mornings to learn more about our dedicated educators. Welcome to the teacher feature of the Nancy Peters Show on Southbridge Street Live. I'm really excited to bring you another teacher, and every week we try to show you what's going on with different teachers in the Crossroads area. So come join me. We have Mrs. Wanda McNeley, and she is from Cade Elementary.
No, it's Cade Middle School now.
It's Cade Middle School now. I'm sorry, my error. Okay. Well, thank you for joining us. And tell us, when did you first know you wanted to be a teacher?
My youngest son was attending preschool at Nazareth Academy, and my oldest son was going to Nazareth Academy at that time. And I had just quit working at Better Beverages to be a stay-at-home mom and started volunteering quite a bit at Nazareth because they always love parent volunteers to come help. And so I was doing that and just found that I like working with children, and they attracted to me and I attracted to them, and we got along good, and it was rewarding. It's like you were helping a little person trying to be a better person, and it just started from there. I just got on. They needed some teacher's assistants there at Nazareth, and I applied, and ever since then, it's been working.
So where all have you taught?
I worked at Nazareth Academy for 9 years, and then I moved to Crane Middle School. I worked there several years, and then when the new schools were built, Lisa Blundell, she took several of us from Crane and went to Cade, and I've been at Cade since then, Cade Middle School.
And what are you teaching there?
I work in special ed inclusion, and I'm also the yearbook advisor there at Cade.
Okay, so kind of double duty here.
Yes.
Well, so inclusion, you're teaching kind of everything to whatever they need? I
go into different classes with different students. I shadow about 25 students every day. I go into their classes, different classes, English, math, which is not my best subject, science and history. And we just go in there for the support of the students. We help them take notes. If they're not understanding something, we'll pull them to the side and kind of give them a more one-on-one instruction. We help them with their accommodations just to be successful in the classroom. And then I'm the yearbook advisor, which we meet after school with students.
Well, that's like a totally different thing, trying to pull together a yearbook. Yes. So do the students enjoy taking the pictures, this group? Or?
Oh yes, they love being part of it. They really get into. I have some really good kids. I start with 6th graders, and then through 7th and 8th graders also. They really are getting into it. They love to interview students. They love to do that. There's always a fight who they can interview, of who they can take pictures. They always want to take pictures, and then creating the yearbook. And they're really proud of their page when they get the page finished. Just like, I did this. And I always tell them it's a history book that's going to stay forever in the school, and that they leave their mark with the school.
I know how much work it is. I did yearbook at 29 years at St. Joseph High School. Yes. But there's kind of a bonding also with a yearbook group.
Yes, since I've raised 2 sons, I have a lot of girls that are in my yearbook. So they're my girls. I've had some of them since they were in the 6th grade, and they're now freshmen at West. 3 of them come back over to help after school. They love it. And they're, matter of fact, they're doing their schedules for next year, and 3 of them are taking journalism in the yearbook club there at West. So they're going to be continuing working on the yearbook.
Wow. Yes. Doesn't it make you feel good to know you helped get them started in that?
Yes. This past summer, we actually had enough funding. We received a grant from Education Foundation, and we went to a summer workshop. For the first time, I took students with me, which was a challenge because I've never taken students with me to the yearbook workshop. And there they learned what I've been trying to tell them. They saw it firsthand. We were the only middle school there out of high school attending. So a lot of the high schools that were there, they were like, "You're from middle school?" I said, "Yes." They go, "Well, we're impressed," because they had great ideas and they understood and they were getting it. And they created the yearbook for this year. They created our cover there, and they are really proud of it.
Oh my gosh, that's really exciting.
Yes.
And what an experience for them to be right there with the professionals who are doing the teaching. Wow.
They learned quite a few things. They were taking notes, and they brought it back to the new students that we had this year, they really took I guess you could say they took interest in it. They took part of that ownership of that book.
Oh, it's got to make you proud.
Oh, yes, because that's my passion. I love to work on the yearbook. I wish I could do it all day, every day, but it has to be after school because it's not a selected elective there at Cade.
Well, what are some of the rewards of teaching?
It's those students that say thank you, the ones that come back later. They'll see you in the store and they go, thank you, Miss McNeley. I really, loved your help. Because it can be challenging. It can be so challenging. It's like every day you go in there, am I doing anything good for this student? Am I making a difference? And then when you do help them and the grades come back and they're like, wow, I've got a good grade. And yes, we did it. And they go, thank you, Miss McNeley. And it's those ones that say thank you and the ones that the last day of school have to hug you and I'm going to miss you. I'm going to miss you. And those are the ones that, yes, that's why I do it every day.
There is that bonding and that closeness and kind of a family feeling a lot of times as we work with our students.
Yes,
Yeah.
because some of them, I'm mostly I work 7th and 8th grade. So sometimes I will have those students for 2 years that I work with. And so when they do leave in 8th grade, when they do that final walkthrough, you're like, okay, they're gone. You get attached to them. You really do, because you're with them so many times during the day. And if you think about it, if you're with them 2 hours a day, every day, you do create that bond with those students.
Right.
And,
well, what do you see as a challenge?
ooh, today's world is the challenge. A lot of the social media, that's a challenge because they have so much knowledge at their fingertips that they can, which is a positive thing, but then you have the negative side of that social media where it's the things that, inappropriate things that they see. They want to be on YouTube. There's a lot of them want to be the next YouTuber, and so they want to try to video things that happen at school. And there's just so much that's out there that's just not appropriate for some of those kids. It's challenging. They bring it to school. They see a lot of stuff on social media that they think it's cool, and so they want to try it. And sometimes it gets caught up and it's not appropriate, and then they bring it to school and causes a lot of issues there at school.
And for them, and yes.
Yes.
Another thing too, it seems like although there's a whole bunch of information right in their hand with the phones,
Yes.
oftentimes they're getting just like a little snippet and they don't get the whole story or both
Right,
sides of it.
correct.
And so a lot of opinions and conclusions are being drawn with on very little information.
Yes. And a lot of it is like they get on their social media and they say, well, so-and-so said this about me and this boyfriend and girlfriend. And so they bring a lot of the personal issues to school. And sometimes that creates a lot of distractions where you're trying to teach them the basics of education. Then you have all the other social drama being drawn in. So it becomes very challenging for us to try to focus and keep focused on our education needs and not the social needs. But sometimes some of those students, they need that extra social help because the parents may not be at home working double jobs or parent is absent. So sometimes they need that extra nurturing there at school. So sometimes we're their parents.
Well, that is true. And I think parents know how hard it is when their kids are emotional at home. But in a classroom, if you have 2 or 3 or 4 who are very emotional, what that does to the whole classroom.
Yes.
It
Creates some distractions.
certainly does. Well, what can parents do?
Be supportive of their schools. Volunteer at schools. Be involved in their schools. Just don't wait for the phone call of your so-and-so child is in trouble. Be up there. Be a recognizable person in the school system. Come up there and help the teachers. We always could use volunteers no matter what grade level your child is in. Just be part of your schools, your child's school. Be involved.
I know when my parents would be involved, especially in elementary, it was like, wow, my parents are here. That's pretty cool.
Sometimes, in middle school, that's not the cool thing to do is to be volunteering in middle school. But, we need help there too. We need those volunteers there at our school too.
And those kids are going to look back and appreciate it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
There's a program I know they try to continue from elementary. It's called Watchdogs. And I do know they've tried several times to get it initiated there at the middle school level, but it's just kind of hard to get dads that are available during the day to help. But several years ago, we did have a couple of dads that did help, and it was nice to have that extra male figure at school to be supportive and interacting with the kids, because sometimes they don't have a father figure at home, and that extra father figure really is an encouragement for the kids, like, oh, okay, you know, there's somebody else who's looking out for me.
Yeah, that is really a good point, having a male on campus, a father. That's great.
Because, you know, there's so many of our teachers are females, so it's nice to have that male person there at the school who could give that a different view of things sometimes, instead of the mother all the time and the teachers that come out in us sometimes.
That's the truth. Well, tell us something funny that may have happened.
Oh, goodness. In middle school, there's something funny every day. You know, it's really hard to pinpoint any certain funny thing.
And they're so quick-witted.
Yes, there are some of them that are very quick-witted, and there are some students that you can joke around with and have a little fun with, and they kind of get your jokes, and it's like kind of fun. You can kind of like they're your own children. You can kind of relate to them, and so. But in middle school, there's something funny every day.
Yeah, we never know what may happen.
You know, you never know.
I remember a student one time was tossing a pencil up in the air, waiting for it to come down. It didn't come down. It got caught. The point got caught up in the tiles and the ceiling. That was really funny in my classroom that time. Well, is there anything unexpected you can think of?
Oh, wow, not right offhand. It's just. Well, sometimes that student that's in class, they really don't speak a lot or talk a lot, and the teacher may ask them, oh, so-and-so, can you read this out loud? And you're like, well, they never read before, and they'll read, and you're like, wow, you're really a great reader. And so that kind of takes you back, or they'll be involved in something that, you just don't really say anything during class, and sometimes there'll be a discussion, and they might have a good opinion about, well, hey, this is what I want to say, and then they'll say something, and you're like, wow, you've got something up there, you've got that brain thinking, and they make those comments, and it kind of takes you back, like, well, you know what, that's not, it's a good idea.
And then when they get that feedback from you that that's a good idea, then they're really
oh yes, when you tell them,
good.
Hey, I'm impressed that you did that, they go, oh, okay, and they give them a little bit of encouragement, like, oh, okay, just keep going, they're always afraid to say the wrong answer. They're not going to answer incorrect. I said, well, the only way you're going to learn is by your mistakes, and if it's wrong, at least you tried,
That's how we learn.
That's right.
A lot of mistakes.
Yes.
So,
it's
a great teacher.
Just try it. You never know.
Is there something that you've learned from a student or maybe from a class?
I would say from my students, it's patience. Sometimes, I don't have a lot of patience, but then they'll keep trying and keep trying. And I'm like, I just have to work a little harder. I have to find a different direction how to approach that student. And so they sometimes teach me a few things like, okay, I need to try it a different way, try to improve myself to help them, because every kid learns different. Every student learns different. And sometimes I have to take a different approach to different things, like maybe have more manipulatives, more of a visual, and sometimes an auditoria, they have to read more to them or just talk to them about it instead. Or I will do, especially with math, I will sit there, okay, let's work this problem together, and I'll do it with them. It's like, here's this, and then they're like, oh, okay. So you have to kind of get in there and do it with them.
And it's really, as you talk about this, it's amazing how many different ways we have to come up with to try to explain it. Yeah.
I know my youngest son is an auditory learner. He could hear it and he got it. And so, but I'm a visual learner. And so I know if I see it, then I can do it. So a lot of my students that I work with, they have to see it. So if we have to do something in class, if I have to, I will take the time to make an example and say, here's what it looks like. Oh, okay, I get it. And so I always have to take that extra time to make that extra manipulative, extra, what they're doing in class, work with the teachers, get the lesson plans. And so let me give them examples, because a lot of these students, They have to see it.
And that's so exciting then when they get it.
Oh,
for
yes.
them, but for us also.
Yes. It's like, you finally got it. Yes, yes, yes. Yes.
If you know it's someone who wants to go into teaching and you could give them some advice, what would it be?
Just be patient with the students. It's a different society. It's a different world than when I grew up, probably when you grew up, when we went to school. It's just different. You're just going to have to just be patient with them and, you know, just learn different techniques, different ways of approaching your kids, because every kid learns different. You know, one group this may work, next group it may not. So I said, just, you know, find your passion, find what you love and do it. You know, pick a subject and just be passionate about it. Just be passionate is all I can say. Because if you don't like doing it, then
the passion is so good.
I mean, there's good days. Oh, believe me, we have good days, but then there's bad days. And those bad days, like, I don't know if I could do this again. But then you have that one kid that will come up to you and say, I need your help, thank you. And you're like, okay, I can do this again tomorrow. I'll be back.
And I guess to not take personally maybe things that may happen or may be said, because if you have someone who's angry and maybe because they've been hurt, then a hurt child or a hurt person hurts others because they're just trying to cope.
Yes, it is hard sometimes not to take it personally, but you don't know what happened beforehand when they got to school. They might have had a disagreement with mom or dad, or something bad happened the night before. A relative is sick, or in the hospital, grandparents, somebody has passed. You don't know that sometimes, and sometimes those kids just don't want to talk about it. And you want to say, you know, if there's something bothering you, do you need to tell somebody? You know, you can talk to me. And sometimes they come out and they start to crying, or they're upset about something. I know last year there was a student, she was one of my yearbook girls. Her and mom got into a disagreement before school, and she came to school crying. And of course it was a testing day. And it's like, okay, come here. You know, I pulled her to the side, there's something I can do. What happened? She told me the story, she's boo-hooing. I said, okay, let's just get your breath, let's concentrate. You know, mom's not gonna be mad at you forever. You know, just had a disagreement that morning, and just try to encourage us, like, it's going to get better. It's not the end of the world. There's always something, you know, better. It's just, you just got to work through, because everybody has disagreements. You know, you're going to have a little spat with mom or dad or somebody.
And thank goodness when we were in school, there was a teacher who helped us out when we were having that really difficult time. And
because there are some students there, I love them to death. It's just like my own kid. Like, I just take them under my wing, and like I get attached to them and going, okay, I want to make sure that you're going to be successful. If I have to stay on top of you and fuss at you like a mom, because sometimes the mom does come out in you. Sometimes the mother does. And there's a student, why are you always getting on me? Because I know you can do it. I know you can do better. I said, I always tell them, the mama in me is coming out, and they're going, oh. I went, yes. The mama comes out.
And they may not appreciate it then, but how many times later do they come back and say, thank you for being on my case?
I'll see them at high school events, and they'll come up and, Miss McNeley, and they'll give me a hug, and how's it going? I miss you. And so you do have an impact on them. You do.
Well, what would be the one thing that is in your spirit that drives you to the classroom every day?
I guess the need to help a student to be successful, because it takes, you know, they always say it takes a tribe to raise a child. It takes everybody. And so I could just help that one student to be successful and to move on. There are days I'm like, oh, I don't know if I can do this again. But then you think, oh, so-and-so, they're having a test today. I've got to be there. I've got to read to that child. I've got to help them do this project in class. And okay, I better go. I got to go.
Yeah, I don't know. Once teaching gets in our blood system, it's in there.
There are times that, like, when you have a bad day, it's like, oh, maybe I need to find something else to do. And then you're like, no, it keeps drawing you back. It's just that it's inside you. You just keep doing it.
Well, thank you so much, Mrs. McNeley, for being here.
I enjoyed it.
And Mrs. McNeley's from Cade Middle School. And remember, you can give us a name of someone you may like to have interviewed. Just leave a message on Southbridge Street Live, or let me know. We always want to show you what all's going on because we have fabulous educators in the Crossroads area. And remember, today's a great day, and thank a teacher.